So this demonstration shows how the dynamic pricing accelerator actually works. It's based on Spotfire and streaming, and I'm going to go ahead and start a feed simulation here that'll allow us to stream in some quote requests into the system, and we'll see the outcome of that in real time on some live dashboards. So I'll go ahead and start this. And if I jump back into Spotfire here, I can go to the real-time dashboard, and we can see here a summary of what's actually happening at the moment in the system. So you can see here a map where we're getting quotes in different locations, and also the total premiums by county within the United Kingdom. We have a breakdown of demographics here by age as well, showing how they're being distributed by age. This is showing us our premiums over time, so the amount of revenue that we're generating. We also have a manipulation warning system in here, which basically looks to see whether or not a customer is trying to manipulate a particular quote type. So it will examine IP addresses and make sure that that person hasn't tried to change certain details of the quote, for example, changing their age or their location. On the second live dashboard, we can see an indication of the renewal prediction probability density, both as a raw graph, and it also shows us as a win-loss. So you can see here the greens represent policies that were renewed or a win, and the reds represent policies that were not renewed. So you can see if above the level of about 0.74, we're winning pretty much everything. So that means our models are fairly accurate in how we're predicting particular customer outcomes. We can see here our total commission by win and loss as well. And we're doing pretty good here. So the red represents potentially lost business that were policies that were not renewed, whereas green is policies that were renewed. And these are the total discounts that we've offered in order to be able to gain that business. There's another view of this here, which aggregates both the commission discount and the commission into one. So based on the discount that we've offered, you can see here, if we offered a discount of £3.20, we were able to gain most of the business in that area, but there was some that we lost. So all of these charts allow analysts and modelers to try to optimize the types of models that they're generating in order to maximize the commission win for the minimum amount of discount in order to receive that. And this chart kind of shows that. So it shows you kind of the total won business versus the amount of discount that we had to give in order to win that business. And we can kind of change the binning of this to see this over time as well. So in order to reach this point, we had to go through the modeling part of the exercise. And this analysis walks you through the life cycle of building different types of data science models. That starts with the raw historical data set that you would have, which would be mostly demographics related along with the customer purchase history. And what we're trying to do is predict whether or not they're going to renew their policy. We can do some data exploration here. And by looking at the different parameters that we have available, we can see the spread of the data and kind of what it looks like in context with other fields. It walks us through the process of picking the most important predictors that we have in our data set, and it also allows you to find correlations in that data so that you can remove predictors that have a high correlation index. Once we've done this, it walks us through the steps of generating about 5 different model types, and you can see here we have a ROC curve, which shows the comparison of the models to one another. They're all mostly about the same, and of course, with this chart, what we want to do is move these lines as close as possible to this point here. So they're all mostly the same, and the one at the top is probably the best of those, and that's logistic regression. We can look at the results of those models as well by clicking through the analysis. And then once we're happy with the model, what we can do is we can then send it to Streambase, and this happens in real time through the AMS system, and then we can deploy this into the running application without having to have any downtime. It's all a hot deployed system. And of course, once that's done, we would see some changes then to the real-time dashboard. We also have the capability of doing challenger and champion model analysis. So a champion model is the one that we have currently deployed, and a challenger is a new model that we've come up with. And what we want to do is evaluate that challenger model against the champion to see whether or not it's actually a better model or a worse model. So you can see here what we have is a side-by-side comparison of those two models that have been evaluated against the same set of data. And you can see on the ROC curve here, our challenger model is this blue line, and our champion model is the gray line. And of course, we want to have these curves as close to the one lines as possible. And we can see in this case that the challenger model is significantly worse than the champion model. So having refined this model a little bit, the conclusion would normally be drawn that it's not good enough to deploy as a new model. And we would go back and remodel that again using some better predictors.